Dude, it's been like 11 months since I was back on YouTube. What do you want from me? Yeah, I know. I have films in the vault and everything, but I don't have time. Alright, fine. You know what? You want me back on YouTube? Let's do it. Hello!
Hi.
We're here! I keep muting and unmuting Anthony. Love that.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Welcome to the Capcom podcast. And as requested by Justin, season 2. We're calling
That was
it.
not my request, but I appreciate the chutzpah. that was very sad. But I think it was an ingenious plan that should be recognized just as much as we should recognize Cameron's lovely intro just now that I was just seeing for the first time. I'm like, wow,
that I might have
powerful hat, and you're wearing the hat.
Yeah,
he is.
It's like after that conversation, you two joined forces.
Yeah. So I think we have a lot to explain. And I'm going to start. I'm going to take off the hat, and then.
Oh, the hat comes off.
I thought the hat was the one that was talking just now.
Yeah, same.
He was playing the music, and it's a he now. I've decided this.
Well, why not add to the 4 of us? One more he, Ken Hurts.
5-member mascot.
Oh boy. So for those that might remember, about 2 years ago, Justin and I did a podcast called Capcom Podcasts. It was in conjunction with was at that time our new release that was with their new logo and all with these movies that we released and with Guardians that we all put out. And then kind of life got in the way and we both kind of had to stop because it was just a lot of work. And so ever since then, him and I've been trying to egg him to do something again, but basically it was just like the workload. And I was talking with Anthony when I was back in the States. Anthony is a good friend of mine who has worked on Knocking on Doors as well as the last movie that we shot in August called Moving On. He's also my editor for that. And we were talking about doing a podcast, and Seb's a good friend of mine out here in Germany. And so we said, why don't we just do another podcast? And so the idea came to do this, to do it live, to have fun with it, and to just kind of see where it goes. We're basically going to go through it every 2 weeks. We'll do a podcast. We do break it up into 3 portions. First one is kind of talking about what's been going on over the past 2 weeks, both from production company standpoint, and if we're doing something special. Then we're going to talk about a movie every week, and then we have a topic. So as you guys saw, we're going to be talking about Nimona this week, and then we're going to be talking about Oscar snubs and films or / nominations that we think should have been nominated. But before that, we have a bunch of people here. There's 4 of us. I think that's twice as many as we usually had last time, Justin, if I'm not mistaken.
I think the 2 of us was incredibly insufficient.
100%.
So we had to bring in the big guns.
100%. So here's what I think we should do. We should start with introducing the 2 new members of this podcast. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we could probably reintroduce ourselves because this might as well be a reboot.
So why don't you just start with you and introduce yourself?
Oh no,
first.
I wasn't ready for that. Hello, my name is Justin. I am a writer, voice actor, dialogue editor. I do 1,000 projects all the time. Online, I work on a web series called Inanimate Insanity that takes up most of my life, minus the fact that I have another full-time job in TV animation. And I am I'm the bestest person to talk to you about films, I decided.
100%.
And the rest of the people here, numbers 2, 3, and 4. I think everyone here knows which place they're in.
I'll go with place number 4, but
I wasn't gonna say it.
But for those that don't know me, which would be surprised if you don't, and you're on this channel, but I'm Cameron Spector. I am the owner of Capcom Productions. I'm a director, producer, writer, and I live in the States and I live in Germany, and we do a whole thing of doing things across the continent, and this is one of them. I guess you're next since you're also on screen.
Well, yeah. And I would say I'm definitely number 4 because I'm the person who has...
Capcom Productions Season 2, Episode 1, The Fight to be number 4.
Also a good movie. We can talk about that later. But I would say I'm number 4 because I think I'm the person with the least input into making movies and doing stuff with movies. But basically, I do and did because of this guy right here. Because we met in uni, and basically, I think one of the first conversations we had was like, "Hey, you would ever want to do a movie with me?" And I think we did that in the first few months of knowing each other. So, and it went from project to project from that. And yeah, we even worked on joint projects together, doing pilots for stuff. So yeah, kind of funny.
Yeah, he was one of the associate producers of Guardians. Helped do all of the location work with that, which was a lot of fun.
And helped you with camera
that's true.
Stuff and all. But yeah.
But yeah, and then finally we'll go to the other person who's in the room.
I gotta get used to that. That's like you're on the spot. Hey guys, I'm Anthony. I'm a little new to Capcom Productions. I helped Cameron with some grip work in the past for Knocking on Doors. So I was his editor for Moving On. Honestly, I'm gonna say also I'm number 4, just to throw a wrench in there. Like the battle, the three of us just box it up for number 4. But yeah, I'm here local in the States. I'm excited to be here.
Lovely. Yeah. So now it's the 3 of us.
So if we had a band, we could be called Number 1 and the Number 4s.
Yeah.
Justin and the 3 4s.
Justin
Love
and
it.
the 3.
We're gonna make you smile. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
All right. In 2 weeks, first single coming out on Capcom Live. Capcom.
I'm incredibly musically inclined. I played the trumpet in middle school, and I sing in the car sometimes.
You play the trumpet? I didn't know. That's dope. Oh, okay.
For
way over my head.
For a good 3 or 4 years. It's
so your middle school instrument.
I expected
dust behind my bed.
Well.
It's great.
So yeah. So there's a couple things to also talk about, right? I'm gonna bring us all here into the fold with this nice little video. Because there's all these titles here. So as I said in the video, there's a vault of all these short films that date back to 2018. I actually think there's a couple that are missing from this list now that I think about it, that we're going to release this year. Just because I've come to the conclusion that they need to at some point go up. And yeah, why not now? So we're finishing those up. We're going to do one last edit pass and then start releasing them soon, including Knocking, which Anthony was a part of, which we actually teased before in a live video, and it's also the poster. Is hanging up here behind me on the wall. And yeah, so those are going to be coming out. No dates yet, but just as an announcement. And then of course this live every 2 weeks. So every other Sunday at 5 p.m. Here in Berlin, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, is there anything, what's up with you guys? What's been kind of going on these past few days? Anything exciting?
Don't make me say it. Well,
what is it, Justin? What is it? Is there something that I forgot?
You didn't forget. I know you didn't forget.
Is there something that I forgot, Justin?
Oh,
it is my birthday today.
Yeah,
happy birthday!
I woke up for a podcast on my birthday.
That's a great way to start the birthday.
100%.
Yeah, it's energizing. It's fun. It's
exactly.
Exciting. Was I wearing that when you took this picture?
No.
birthday, boy.
Yeah. I told you I was gonna do something.
Oh,
You
this
were
is
like,
lovely.
please don't. And you said, please don't. And then I did it anyway.
I mean, we spoke about making music, but should we sing for Justin?
Yes, we should.
All right.
Because the lag
I'm
over
horribly
It's
out
gonna
of
be great.
sync. Yeah.
All right, ready, guys?
3, 2, 1.
Happy
birthday
birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
you.
Happy birthday, dear Justin.
Happy
birthday
birthday to you. Cha cha cha.
Cha cha cha.
I loved how I zoomed in on that single of Justin as he was just like, yay.
That was amazing. Thank you.
So,
Great work.
we are now 10 minutes into these shenanigans. And I think we need to talk about our film of the week, which is Nimona. For those of you who know, Nimona is the 2023 Best Animated Feature nominee on Netflix right now, streaming. So very easy to access. We're gonna, talk about the movie. We're gonna do some spoilers, but we're gonna start with no spoilers, or maybe not do spoilers. We need to talk about that because we didn't talk about that in the briefing meeting. Yeah. Oops. Sometimes we're not prepared, guys. That's just how it is. Yeah, let's have a chat. Who wants to kind of start talking about Nimona and what they think, how they thought it was?
I guess I'll start. I really when I first watched it, I read the graphic. I didn't finish graphic novel, but I don't know if you guys knew it was graphic novel before it was a movie.
I haven't read it, but that's
today.
exciting. Someone's extra prepared. You're fighting for that number 3 spot.
I gotta go up. I can't stay at number 4. Maybe 2. We'll see. Depends. But yeah, I read the book. I didn't finish it, but when I read it, it was a really, really good book and animation and graphic novel, I should say, not book. But the artistic style from the novel is actually represented in the book. Oh my gosh, in the movie. And that's what I loved and kind of enjoyed seeing, is that artistic style coming from a graphic novel and being animated into the movie, and seeing the different the lighting features that they used, some of the scenes with the lights and some of the shots in the scenes, I thought was very well represented and just gorgeous.
I think the animation style is fantastic. And I mean, part of the history of the film is that it was in production with Disney for a long time. And then they scrapped it and then it got picked up elsewhere. And it's very fun to see something come out of that realm, but also have such a distinct style to it. Very, very pretty. And in regards to Disney, it's hard to imagine a reality in which Disney has such an openly free queer film. On one character is hyper allegorically queer, one character is just straight up queer, and I wish we lived in a world where a big studio like Disney would be pretty chill about that.
I am very surprised that Disney was developing that. That is very surprising to me. I did not know that.
And now this will be filled back into the Oscar discussion later. Now we live in a fun reality in which this film was nominated for Best Animated Feature, and Disney's film for the year, Wish, was not.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I think the first time in a really long time that Disney Animation Studios did not have an animated film up for nomination.
Is that correct?
Even if they didn't win.
Usually they'll have at least one Disney or Pixar, but I guess sometimes.
So they have Elemental this time, but I don't think.
Yes.
But usually Disney Animation is nominated, and not that they always win.
Film. Yeah,
but they usually have one nomination.
Yeah, but they did.
Well, they're also.
This year.
I feel like they also produce so many animated movies compared to other companies out there. Since they own Pixar and stuff like that, they make so much revenue and profit off their animated movies that they just produce them left and right.
That's fair. I mean, it's the discussion of but when we get later to Wish, if we want to talk about Wish as like, was it a snub or not? Like, is it just AI writing a script? Like that was thrown out there a couple of times. But yeah. Anyway, I think Nimona, as you guys have said, has a beautiful art style. I think that's what kind of took me in. It's a graphic novel, and they did a really good job of bringing in that graphic novel. Also, those voice actors were really great.
Yeah,
like such great voice acting. And
yeah, and also to come back to it, as Justin said already, like it's kind of like a fairy tale Disney like thing, but I think it's the fairy tale of the 21st century, the way that it's told, because as you said, it includes queer characters, but it includes them in a way that's so accepted that it's not even a topic in the movie. And I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that one of the main characters is in a same-sex relationship.
It's pretty evident pretty early in the movie. I think that's
I think it's established in the first scene of the movie.
I also don't think it's a part of the movie that's like
it doesn't spoil
a plot and like important plot device.
The funniest thing about this for me was that the main character is in the same-sex relationship that doesn't get questioned as a same-sex relationship. It's not even spoken about as a topic. The only thing that ever is spoken about that the two characters are basically, because of their love relationship, one of the characters is questioned in their loyalty. And that is something where the kind of relationship doesn't even play into. And I just love that all of these kind of identities are accepted in that movie as some nonchalant thing, that we don't have to speak about it anymore, that it's nothing special. And I just love that, because if you would made a big role out of it, I think it would just make it a token thing in the movie. And that we are at the point where we can display fairy tale, where the knight doesn't have to portray old stereotypical roles that aren't needed in that kind of way anymore today, and basically turn everything that is used to be for an old school fairy tale
on its head.
Yeah, on its head. That's just, I loved everything about that. It's very a modern take on a fairy tale, and I think we need more of that.
It really throws you off really early on in the movie, where you have all this setup, the fairy tale introduction, and then 1,000 years later, and you're looking at some flying cars, and it's like, oh, okay.
It basically is set in a future where there's medieval elements in the future.
That's all thanks to Glorith, I guess. When you idolize a knight, you want to embed that into the culture, I guess, as much as possible. I love the world. It's really, really fun to be there. And like even visually, like if you look at the backgrounds, like it's fairly like minimalistic. You're very focused in on like really nice character designs. There's a lot of, and talking about like you talked about like modern fairy tale. I'm like, I was getting a little like you know, back in like early 2000s, you have Shrek, which is like kind of the pushback on Disney of like,
right.
Here's more realistic depiction of like the fairy tale worlds. And that, you know, that was incredibly successful for great reason. And I feel like there's a lot of that energy here of like pushing back on what a fairy tale could look like, expanding the boundaries.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think it's an interesting also thought about is this what the new fairy, are we gonna be done with these classic like Disney style stories?
Never.
No.
Well, never. Absolutely never. But granted, I mean,
bread and butter.
Wish was the first musical, especially like fairy tale princess musical to. It's not even fairy tale. It was princess musical that didn't like super explode in success. Well, not first, but like in a long time.
We've been on a decline though, and it is a talking point of like, is this the new age of animation? Is this what we want like animation to look like? Because it is, are we looking for something that's more unique? Because I think animation for such a long time was just Disney stronghold, right? And so the question is now like, what's next? And is it time for us to kind of say we need to look past Disney, like? Because when we talk about like best animated films, like Disney hasn't won in a while, if I remember correctly. Like they
They did win in 2021, but let's be clear here, Encanto was real good.
but that's the last one, I believe, right?
I think so, yeah. Well, it's only been one
it's been 2
opportunity
years.
since then. But,
That's fair, but that was the first time in a while that Disney did not win Best Animated Feature, either through Pixar or through their animation studio, right? Sony
listen,
won.
they could win with Elemental this year, and I'd go, what? I really liked Elemental. Let's also be clear on that. But I think out of well, we could talk about it later, I guess. But I haven't seen Robot Dreams, but seeing all the rest of them, Elemental might be. But I love Elemental, but still might be kind of bottom of the list for me for this year.
But like thinking about like
Hmm.
especially talking about story, animation style, are we ready for a more like? And I would call this more like gritty, right? It's not that gritty, but like it is more gritty than like what a Disney animation was or is. Is the world ready for it?
And when Shrek came out, were people maybe saying the same thing of like, oh man, now DreamWorks is entering the game. Now it's not going to be about Disney anymore. And here we are like 20 years later having a conversation about, yep, so it's been about Disney for the last 20 years.
But is it? But like, here's the thing, right?
though.
20 years ago, it was DreamWorks. Now it's not just DreamWorks.
It's
Sony.
You DreamWorks, Sony, Illumination. I was supposed to say Blue Sky. Rip to that.
Owned by Disney, I think. Well, I think.
But I mean, also a lot more Japanese animated films coming in, and people really, really embracing that more than ever. So I mean, like, yeah, now there's a lot more competition. I think Pixar still has really good standing with the public. I think Disney over the last few years has had fewer wins,
sure,
than usual. Again, I really liked Encanto, but outside of that, I think the general consensus has been a little.
But I mean, if you take the standard Disney movie, it's a lovely movie. The art style's great, but I think the stories are also always like lovely but flat. Yeah. But with this new take on animated films, which like Nimona also had, is that they put in that typical like fable like layer of a moral that gets questioned and pushed a bit, or like gets a modern take on it. And that's why it's also always a lovely fairy tale kind of story. But it also has this like deeper laying topic where it's like, with many newer animated movies, there's something where a kid could just watch that film and be like, oh, that's a lovely movie. But if the parents would watch it, they would also see deeper into it. And when you watch it a few times, you could analyze it much more. Where I think like a Disney movie is just a lovely movie. Like if you take the older Disney movies. And I mean, there are some movies where like Bambi, of course, you can question stuff in Bambi, but otherwise it's just a lovely movie. But yeah. In more modern movies, like even I think Elemental, there are things you could read into that, and yeah, you could put social issues into that. And
100%. With Elemental, 100%. The whole movie is based on a social issue.
Yeah, of course.
Like that's
like taking an important topic, putting it in a nice story that could be used for any age group. It's just more practical because that's why you get also more people into a cinema to watch it.
Sure. I'm going to say, let's get into some spoilers. That's not what I wanted to say.
Spoiler. Oh my gosh.
What if I do this now? There we go.
Spoiler.
Yes,
let's go.
Everyone dies.
No.
I hope you clicked away at this point if you don't want spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, Dumbledore dies.
No.
Tony Stark wins.
What?
Oh snap!
Yes.
I think some of the plot lines are very clear that they like. I think they're very like story tropes. Like when we're talking about Nimona and who she actually is, right? And that she's the actual like monster that they've been fighting this whole time. Like I feel like we went through spoilers. We already had the ticker on the bottom. We can't be surprised.
And you start with the biggest one that gets like told 2/3 into the movie.
But that's
literally.
I mean, I don't know what the other big spoiler is. Like the other big spoiler, I guess, would be that the Institute is like killed.
Everything. The big spoilers. Everything is a lie. Yeah.
I mean,
right
now that we dive into details, for me, this movie is really a breaking with conventions thing because it has a gay couple as the main protagonists, basically, besides Nimona.
Right.
And then also there's this institute, which also kind of has that person as a goddess or patron at the center of the whole system for this town, which also to me kind of has this kind of fallout vibe, because they live inside these walls. They never go outside of these walls because they don't know what's outside. They don't ever, like, the people that live there never go onto the wall surrounding the town, so they don't know what's outside. So it's basically like this microcosmos of living in this medieval future realm.
Right.
And spoilers there. So at the end, they leave that place and venture outside, but that does mean that there is stuff outside already, technically, because where else would they go to?
It's this idea of like, it's this idea of like, hey, look, don't go outside. Outside is bad because there's the big monster outside. Like, I feel like this is like a trope that I've seen before.
So I'm just thinking,
like, Wally comes to mind as like,
no, not that way. But
like Wally is like, the government doesn't want you to know that you can't go outside because nothing will. Like, it's a similar concept. I think what makes it interesting is that we actually see the Nimona, who is like the great unknown and this like great danger, and we realize, what the actual danger was not her, nor was it the girl who is our patron saint. It is everyone else saying that she's a monster.
Yeah, but basically to me it's like, is it basically because they live in there and they don't venture to the outside and stick to this rules? It's kind of like a cult. The whole thing, they're all part of a cult, because even the people praise the knights and everything and the institute. And then again, because like Nimona portrays this thing of a free spirit, free thinking, free forming person, and then there's this thing of like, no, we need to adhere to this, and we need to fight the monster, the individual that lives free and with the nature and with the birds and everything, and is a free spirit. It's kind of like critiquing against deities in itself.
Sure.
So
definitely.
Yeah, and like the free spirit against the system. So it's kind of really like punk.
Screw the system.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like the Institute definitely like villainizes Nimona, and then she kind of internalizes that, and it affects her mentally. And just seeing her like how much like build up that is on her own like mental health through over the years of being kind of like this monster, portrayed as a monster, even though she just wants to be loved and be this free spirited person. And how the build up, and then when she finally, it's spoilers, so I could say it.
We've gone to spoilers. We're good.
After like she goes to the build up of like her like mental health and being depressed in a sense, becoming the great big monster, and then having the main character kind of like save her. Like that's kind of like, I don't know. It was definitely like a flip on like society norms. Like the institution created her at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's what happens when you live in a fear-driven society. I mean, that's everything about this culture. It's about, we're building a wall because we're scared. We're gonna give anything that's other, that's anyone who's different, because we're afraid of them. I mean, it starts even before Nimona. You have Ballister, who everyone's like, well, he's not the royal bloodline. I don't know if we could trust that. It's like, what are we doing here? What are we valuing here?
But I mean, that's the other, right? Like that's
I mean,
the other, and that's like not something that's new or that foreign or that like uncommon.
Yeah. Something I just realized now. You know how Ballister is the only Black Knight, like armor, like not skin color wise, but the armor wise. Like everyone else is white, gold, and silver. Like, and he's the Black Knight, and the Black Knight isn't cool to be part of the big brigade, basically.
And he has a lot to put on his shoulders in terms of representing a different group of people.
Yeah, but that's also like a social simile, basically, in the end.
Yeah.
Like, you can't put him into the same ranks as the others.
Absolutely. What were you saying, Cam?
Yeah, I think we've, come to, like, the story that really gets to me is, like, when we find out why Glorith and Nimona are not friends. and that we find out that they were friends. And it's like this societal thing of like, hey, society goes, she's different, she's a monster. And like, I don't know why that got to me the most, but it did. Because I think it is such a like very serious issue of like, we need to like, this is something that like is not like just in a story, like it's real, and you know, we need to kind of take it seriously. And I think it's a message that I think the authors of the original graphic novel kind of wanted to bring forth. And I think, you know.
Well, I mean, in that sequence, one of the things that they do so effectively, and they do this throughout the movie too, is whenever you have Nimona transform into the form of the little girl, or at least, you know, passing as the little girl who, like, she'll transform into how she looked around the time that she met Glorith. Whenever
Right.
she feels that deepest pained insecurity, whenever she's flashing back to those moments. They do such a great job with the shapeshifting to demonstrate whatever state she's in, whenever she wants to feel powerful, whenever she's feeling vulnerable. So I mean, that is always so emotionally affecting. And speaking of the fear-driven society, that same sequence, it's such a small moment, but I think one thing that is just so perfectly encapsulates the film, just a little moment, is you have them like throwing fire at Nimona, and then it just falls to the ground and everything catches fire. It's like, yeah, when you're just so blindly scared by things instead of trying to understand them, you're gonna burn yourself. It's gonna cause more issues, and that ends up happening towards the end of the movie when we have Monster Nimona.
Yeah.
Is that weird to call her that?
No, I think she's called. Actually, she is called the Great Black Monster. So that is what the movie.
I mean, she was in the end.
Yeah.
But it's a little rude.
Yeah, but like
If she watches this podcast, will she be offended?
But like her form as a monster differed so much from her before. Basically, every other shape she had was nothing like it. That's why I felt like it wasn't her being the monster. It was the energy, the hate that built up inside her that then took shape.
The fact that she didn't want to hurt anyone in that moment. But like
she didn't want to hurt
no,
anyone.
She wanted to hurt herself. Right? Like she doesn't destroy anything on purpose, or she doesn't like try to kill anyone. She's not going after a target. She just goes to hurt herself. And like
it's a lot of self-defense.
And like everything
protection of those she loves.
Yeah, but even like in general, she like as a character, when you think back on it, it's like she's not actually hurting anyone to like majorly harm them. She's just trying to defend herself more than anything else. Even though she has this exterior of like murder, let's kill people, right? Like
she's embracing what's put on her at this point.
Right. Yeah.
She's like, well, if they're gonna act as though this is what I say and do, I'm gonna have fun with it.
Well, that's what she says in the movie.
Yeah.
Too. Like that's her line.
I'm sorry for copying her. I'll try to bring original ideas from now on.
100%. Please do, Justin. Come on, you gotta be better than that.
I'll try my best. One of my favorite sequences in the movie, and it kind of comes up more than once. But whenever they, I think one of the most interesting dissections of having Ballister kind of come to grips of, with who Nimona is this, again, like queer allegorical kind of discussion of like transferring his verbiage and how he discusses things with her, and goes from what are you and it comes across as a joke early on, and she's like, I'm Nimona. And he's like, that doesn't explain anything. He goes from this mindset of like, I need explanations, which is the same as society. What are you? I need explanations. You don't make sense to me, therefore I am scared of you. And then going to, oh, maybe some people don't need an explanation. They just are who they are, and we can maybe just be chill with that. And the fact that he starts to get that as it goes on, they have this discussion of small-minded questions, and to him that he's like, well, why? Nimona's looking for the big question. She's like, maybe think about why the society is doing the things it does, instead of this, just like looking at little me and acting like I'm the problem just for existing and just kind of minding my own biz. So I thought they had so many like really nuanced, really just layer that into conversation very casually. It's never like they never make a big moment out of it. It just, this is life. This is who she is.
I think so. I think that brings two questions in it for me. One is, do we think this movie shows that we're at a point where like being gay is like not a movie hot button issue that like, you know, like if I think about like movies from like 5-6 years ago, it's like, oh, that person's gay, that's the whole plot. Am I wrong?
No,
Like,
you're not
that's
wrong. No.
are we finally at the point where we can say it's just a characterization of a character? Like we're
Yeah.
at that like can we like say okay, we're at that point now?
Make it casual. Yeah, I think it's increasingly more we're seeing that, so that's very pleasant to see.
And
you'll always get there's so many people who have that queer experience of like,
sure,
I'm coming out and it's a big deal and it's scary and it's such a big deal to me that I'm gonna make a movie out of it. So I mean, like, or a studio that sees that as the experience.
It's not a bad like storyline.
But I agree that the casualness is nice. It's normalizing, and that's more healthy for the cultural soul.
100%.
And I mean, telling your coming out story as a movie is one thing, but again, if you make too many movies out of that don't base on something just so you have something to say that's diverse, then I don't know, that's not the best trait. And I also think that if we just include that movies as like characters without making it the main attraction of the movie, then it gets ingrained into society even better, because if people grow up watching these movies and whole family watch these movies, it doesn't only influence children, it influences the parents, and therefore it gets into everyone's minds easier.
Sure.
Because I feel like in movies like these, if they portray topics like that as normal, it's not as offensive as if you do a big art house kind of movie that portrays it in a very weird and artsy way. Because I always feel like movies like Nimona portray all these messages in such a soft and pleasant way that you pick them up, but they don't push it in your face.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Which
think you know me to be at that point. Sorry, Anthony, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was gonna say, like, that's something that I really enjoyed about the movie, just because like a lot of my family members are like, you know, like gay and queer and stuff like that, and like they always request or talk to me about representation in movies, and they feel like either the movies shove it down your throat or there's no like subtleness. And like when I saw this movie, I thought of them in a sense, because like they finally got that subtle like representation in a movie where like it's not a big deal, or like the main plot line where there's a whole other arches and multiple like arches that we've been talking about and character development stuff that happens, but it's something that is representative throughout the movie as well.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's that we're not at a point anymore where it's, oh, this guy is gay, that's like the main trait of that person. But it's like, oh, this person actually has a life and a story, and he's also gay, and that's cool because we're there. Any final comments on this movie that otherwise I would go to, what do you guys rate it? Like out of 5 stars.
After the ending, I want a part 2.
Well, you know, I think that's actually a really interesting discussion that I've gone back and forth on. Do y'all like biggest spoiler that Nimona dies and comes back? Do we like the and comes back?
The thing is, I'm not certain about that.
She's alive.
Yeah, yes and no, but the thing is, the way she somewhat showed up in the end wasn't her being seen in that form that we saw her through the film. Maybe she's just the ghost spirit that's now with him.
The Phoenix.
I feel like we know what the movie wants us.
Yeah, but the little
think.
sparkle sprinkle that follows him around like a cloud all the time and now annoys him as a voice.
But either way,
being like, I'm his psychic voice.
Nimona is back. Do we like that? as in terms of narrative storytelling, in terms of how that relates to the theme, in terms of how what you take away from the film.
I
I'm
think
just
for a
curious.
kids film, we're at a point where that's kind of standard. Like, I'm sorry, like that's kind of where we're at. It's
Forget
like
kids film.
it's the
Don't give
standard-
me kids film. Talk to me like you watched a film. Treat it like a film.
It would be the standard for animation movie that's child friendly because the other thing is, if
What
she
do
died-
you three think?
Yeah,
okay.
Forget child friendly. Forget kids stuff. What do you think about this
I
decision in the
think-
movie? It's a movie, you know.
I think
And you can
because
like it,
she's
but
the
go on.
hero, the hero who changes how this microcosmos world of the town works, she should have died the martyr that she was and not come back, because that kind of delivers a happy ending, but it's already a happy ending because the whole society changed and everyone lives happier ever after. So
I think coming in with the idea that, how do I say, that she like dies and it's dead, and us having to deal with that fact, I think would have been a much more powerful ending for me. And I think would have been a much more interesting ending, a lot more unique ending, right? She dies, and the first sentence I think of was, when is she gonna come back? Like, it's just like, because that's that's my point. It's like, I think the way that it was done, very cute, very well done, but I would have liked to have been able to talk about, like, or the thought process of how do we deal with that kind of thought, right? How do we deal with the fact that when we think about, hey, I didn't know this person that long. This person was vilified as a villain of our society, but we've come to terms with the fact that no, she's not. She's just different. But now she's gone, and we can't really we can't feel with the guilt that we have, right? And that's, I think a powerful message when, especially talking about this like LGBTQ like coding of like, people died as a result of being gay.
Makes you question how many have
Yeah.
to die before change is happening and
Right.
stays.
So that would have been a very cool ending. Justin, is that an answer that you're satisfied with?
Yeah, no, it is. Right? Listen, now that we talk about it like a film without the like, well, I've seen a few other kids' films, and like this is kind of their thing. I mean, look, it's a movie. We'll talk about it like a movie. But like I bring it up because I was of two minds on it. Because on one hand, I'm like, honestly, there's a lot of movies where protagonist doesn't die at the end, and people are like, I think this would have been way cooler and edgier if they just killed the main character at the end. And more often than not, I'm like, no, you're stupid. That doesn't that would not make the story better. Here, at least, like you picture like society, Nimona's past. I'm really sad about it. They put up a big statue of her instead of Glorith, and they're showing how much she has inspired them, and how much they took her for granted. And like you get those scenes. They spent a long time on Nimona is dead, which is interesting before bringing her back at the end.
I don't agree with the fact of replacing Glorith with Nimona. I think that sends the wrong message.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Glorith is not the bad
Glorith
guy.
kind of sucked though.
But
Glorith,
did she suck because she's a terrible person, or did she suck because society brought her to a corner? Right?
Everything that she brings to society is awful, or at least this society. Like, because, that's what we're saying earlier. It's the fear-driven society, and that's every single decision that this society makes is out of fear. And that is very specifically what Glorith's ideals brought to the table.
But I think what the movie shows, like, Glorith was not the catalyst, right? And that's my point. It's Glorith was driven by other people to feel that fear and therefore act the way she does.
and also Glorith saw her and embraced her and her changing abilities, riding on her back through nature, as like Glorith rode on Nimona as a horse through nature and everything,
true.
and she accepted her otherness.
Yes.
But when her parents saw that, the society already rejected what Nimona was. Like, Glorith accepted that, but basically when society told her, no, that's not all right, she took over that opinion. And that's also the thing that, society has already. Children can be so accepting of otherness and things that are different than themselves, and accept identities and all of that. But society tells them the values society has, and if they say no, that's not all right, and you listen to what your parents tell you as a child, because
they're your parents.
Yeah, they're your parents, and parents enforce that on you and say, no, don't go near that anymore, and you are a kid that listens, then, well, you grow up to reject that in some way.
Right.
Okay, but there's no statue of society. There's no statue of
right,
of
but
Lord's
what
parents.
we realize is
the reason the statue exists is because they were idolizing the ideals that Glorith, that the ideals she embraced.
Right,
So,
which she embraced, which were the ideals of society.
Is it too mean to take down her statue? Well, why did the statue go up in the first place? They liked her ideals. Now we don't like her ideals.
That's fair.
I mean, the statue and everything that Glorith did in the end came from the point that she was happy with Nimona playing around. The parents were like, oh no, started to attack Nimona as a child, and then through the whole thing that turned out of that situation, her house, her farm burnt down. Right. So basically the parents and their uproar caused an accident that Glorith then, because of her parents' influence, blamed Nimona for, and grew up to be that monster-striking knight. And I think society shaped her into growing up like that and defending these values that were already in place.
And I don't disagree with you. I think everything you're saying is very smart and very correct. I just will also make a note of
I like how the smart had to be in there. Like it was smart.
I think Snubs deserves recognition for being a really cool person. But doesn't really change the fact that when you see the statue of Glorith, you are idolizing the things that were put on her.
That's fair. Of course.
I don't think it's mean to take down a statue of a person who's been gone 1,000 years. She had that statue for a very long time.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, we can replace that with someone else now. I mean,
do you think it was worth replacing with Nimona?
I want to see the Nimona statue.
Yes,
she impacted the society. She protected them.
Then it's replaced with Nimona.
She helped change their perspective on things. Whether or not she dies at the end, I think that's a valuable way to that they could show that they actually took something away from this. But also queer people die enough in movies, so maybe it's cool and good that Nimona is okay at the end, and puts a smile on your face. Why not? Ends the movie on a nice note. But what were you saying, Anthony? I'm sorry. I feel like you're trying to jump in a couple times.
I was going to say, it definitely ends on a knife note, but do you think society or the institution is just reflecting and repeating its same mistakes by creating that statue of Nimona, right? Like idolizing someone else instead of trying to straight standards and rules of breaking down the institute that created the issues in the first place.
Both can be happening, right?
Yeah.
That's what I just thought. Maybe we shouldn't build monuments that represent values, because values change over time. Yeah. And especially if a statue stands for 1,000 years, normally values don't hold up 1,000 years. If we think back for the real world history, how much has the world changed in 1,000 years? So could you really have something up that represents a certain point of time?
But Nimona's not only values. Nimona also saved half the kingdom from being exploded. So I think even just as a thank you, that's worth having there. Granted, I mean maybe Glorith had the same thing where it's she built a wall and maybe slayed a different monster, and then the people went, oh well, she did such a great service for us. She deserves a statue that lasts 1,000 years. They definitely did not make it 1,000 years ago, but
but that's another thing I wondered, because Nimona in the movie looks like a teenager.
Sure.
And when you see her form that she met Glorith in, she's a little girl, but the statue of Glorith is like a middle-aged, woman in her mid-30s or something. How old, and I mean, that says that the scroll is the old legend they found in some basement of the monster that Glorith fought. How old did she, not age, basically? Did Nimona even chose the form of the teenage girl because that's how she feels like? But she isn't a teenage girl anymore if she's that old. What is her real form and shape anyway? Because, that's also a form she chose.
Yeah.
She's just Nimona.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would say
That's why. What would you even build the statue as? Like, which form and shape of her? I prefer the shark because I think the shark look cool.
Shark is pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a good point there. Listen, the recurring whale joke, it got me every time. So I mean, I'm down for the whale.
Also, biggest
Rhino.
Rhino's a classic, of course.
The Rhino is a classic.
What did Idiot Boy call the Rhino at some point?
Unicorn?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
unicorn.
The big unicorn. And then said rhinoceros, and then made me chuckle. What were you saying, Cameron?
What would you rate the movie out of 5 stars?
I think on Letterboxd I gave it a 5, but I give a 5 to any movie that I really, really like.
You either give 5s or 0s in Letterboxd. Your Letterboxd is not count.
I do 5s if I really, really like the movie, and if I don't really like the movie, I don't give it a rating at all. I don't know. I think there's enough negativity in the world. But I feel like it'd be rude of me to give it a 5 there and a 2 here. I would never give it a 2.
I was about to say.
I just love this movie.
I give it a 4. I think it's a solid 4-star movie.
So 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 4.5.
I'm sticking with the 5. Okay, I'm doing 5s and 0s from here on out. So
I mean,
here's a 5.
Yeah. I'd also say like a 4.2 maybe.
Okay.
4.2. Let's go. Yes.
So
a lot of 4s coming from the 4s in the room. I noticed. What's up with that?
So this is our little Oscar list that I got from a website.
Love.
I did not make this myself. And this came from like the fact that like there was all this controversy online about like the Oscar snubs and Margot Robbie and whatever. I forget her name now. Why do I forget her name?
I believe in you.
The director.
Oh, yeah.
It's on here too. That's the thing.
Greta
Gerwig also not being nominated for directing, and my whole like thought process on that was like I think the pool for those 2 categories is just too strong. But I wanted your thoughts as to what movies you think were snubbed this year. I have a whole list, of course.
All right, I'll do the. I'll say the Justin thing. I'm noticing a lot of live action films in the best picture category, and I think it's a little. Especially when Across the Spider-Verse is like the best movie in years. So I think that's a little crunchy of them. I think the Oscars, as a result, is a little for only having 3 animated pictures in there ever, especially when most years the best animated feature is the best picture as well. I mean, so that's my yearly ramble that I give every year. But in this year, I care even more so because golly, I am obsessed with Across the Spider-Verse. It is.
Which movie would you take out?
I agree with that.
A crazy
work
of art.
Well,
I don't know most of these movies that I'm saying that Across the Spider-Verse is better than. Who cares about Maestro, right? So I don't know. Listen. It is a little unfair of me to say that Across the Spider-Verse is definitely better than all these films, but I've never been obsessed with a movie more. So it's hard for me to imagine. I will watch them.
Talking about animated films, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was not nominated for anything. You think?
Which I really liked. I understand, like. Looking at what is there, if we're looking at best animated picture, let me find the list on this little thing.
Second from the top on the right.
Yes, thank you. You're so cool, as always. Because I love Boy and the Heron. I really liked Elemental. Nimona's obviously great. Haven't seen Robot Dreams. I'll watch that soon. Across the Spider-Verse, yay! Honestly, from that category specifically, I think the one missing is Suzume. Anyone else here see Suzume? I love
That's
Suzume.
true. I forgot
I
that
have
came
not.
out last year. That's a really
I
good
would
film.
maybe say that out of I'd probably put Suzume before I add in Boy and the Heron and Elemental. I haven't seen Robot Dream, so I can't judge there. But
Interesting.
I
would
really-
agree with you with Elemental.
I think it's like a kind of same level as Nimona. Very, very different movie, but
Sure.
both movies I really, really like. And I again really liked Elemental, Boy and the Heron, especially Boy and the Heron, like really great. But Suzume is beautiful.
It's a really
and
powerful movie.
Makes me cry.
I mean, honestly, so the movie that I felt, one of the movies that I felt though was snubbed that I've seen was the Iron Claw. I thought that movie was.
I
absolutely
am
fantastic.
shocked Iron Claw is in here.
I
Iron
am
Claw
either.
is amazing. Yes, absolutely.
And that's a film that I was like, oh, this is such Oscar bait. Like it is just playing it
Love
all,
that.
and it got nothing. It got screwed over. Like I don't know. I feel like even like Zac Efron playing an amazing character, like the acting, it was amazing. The music, like it was just a great movie.
It's a good movie when you're crying for half of it, and then halfway
Yeah.
through the movie, I'm like, why am I putting myself through this? And then by the end of it, I'm like, that was worth it. That was good stuff.
Oh
gosh.
I never cry during movies, but when I saw Iron Claw, like I cried. Just the cinematography, the acting, the whole story, like how everything, that movie is just fantastic.
And
Sure.
hearing that they had to
Yeah,
lessen the real life story to make it more, to work narratively as a film, but also to make it more believable as a film. Oh gosh.
Sure.
Tragedy. Oh my god.
Also, Asteroid City not getting any nominations was
I was so
surprising.
surprised.
They could have just clipped out one certain sequence of the movie and put that in the best animated feature category.
You're talking
It's a
about
great sequence.
the alien?
Yeah. It's a great sequence.
I have to say, and Cameron and I disagree on that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I really think I like the last two movies, Wes Anderson movies, more than this one.
You liked French Dispatch more than this?
Yes, I did,
That's
and we
a
talked about
terrible
that.
opinion. I remember
Wow.
you telling me that,
Whoa.
but I don't agree.
But it's not
whatsoever.
that I don't like the movie, but I felt like the colors and everything when we saw it, it didn't appeal to me as much. I like the darker tones
love
of
this
French
movie.
Dispatch more.
I saw
atmosphere.
I saw Asteroid City 3 times.
But maybe it's also because Asteroid City is very American, and if you don't
Maybe.
relate to that Americana style, then it's maybe a bit just too much.
I mean, from a writing perspective,
Valid.
I think it's amazing. From a acting perspective, I think it's amazing.
I
think
love
from
the acting.
production design. I think I think it ticks so many boxes that I'm surprised that it didn't get nominated for something.
I mean, you love the multi-levelness of
was so
it
good.
being a shoot in a shoot
It was so
in a
good.
movie,
It was so great.
of the things where they go out into the studio.
It was
space,
a
out of the-
story within a play within a movie.
and I
And
didn't
I
care
love
for that at all.
But
because
within a
I think-
radio show within a movie. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
forgot the radio show part.
And I think it didn't add that much to the way the general plot of the movie works.
Sure.
But you went crazy over it.
I
so
loved
think,
it.
like,
I
yeah.
loved it so much. I think from Fallen Leaves, which was the Finnish edition, was the Finnish nomination for Best International Film this year. That movie was so funny. If anyone has a chance to go see that, it is the driest, most hilarious movie. It's like the Finns themselves are very like monotone in their like delivery of things, and put that behind a love story that just like goes absolutely bonkers, and it's so funny. I was laughing the whole time. And then finally, like the other questions, like we were talking about Wish before, but like, was Wish a snub?
Still haven't seen it, but I plan on watching it pretty soon. But like, if I'm gonna go based on like consensus of what I've seen, like I would be pretty shocked if I liked it more than anything else in the animated feature category.
Well, I think that's the issue. It's like I think it's a really good movie with a good message, but like I don't know where it fits here.
I very rarely hear people screaming, "You gotta see this! This is the best movie!" Like, so I mean, like, I'll give it a watch. I'll give it a shot. But out of the movies that I've seen 4 out of the 5 here. Like, I would be pretty surprised if I liked it more than any of those, but maybe.
I mean, let me see. I think I know it's nostalgia bait, but the short film in front of it, Once Upon a Studio, should have gotten some love.
I'm gonna have to say again, I haven't seen it because I was gonna watch it with Wish, because that's how it was in theaters. But based on consensus, like yeah, I feel like it sounds like people loved it, so that is very surprising to see. Way more surprising than Wish not being.
100%, I agree with you. What movies did you guys kind of see and go, oof, I don't know? By the way, you guys, we do a movie every 2 weeks, so if you have a specific movie that you want us to review, please type it in the comments, and we will, before we leave, we'll decide on a movie to watch in 2 weeks. But with that being said, just so that people have time to kind of type up some movies if they want to watch if they want us to watch something specific. What other movies did you guys think this year were like, nah? Why wasn't this year? Or even if it was like Willem Dafoe's supporting actor, I think in Poor Things was absolutely snubbed. Like I think his acting was amazing in it. And,
I should have done a little more homework. Did Theater Camp get anything?
No.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Theater Camp is one of the funnier movies of the year.
It was so good.
I still listen to some music from it. It's not like a musical, but like
what's Theater Camp?
Yeah,
it's Theater Camp.
They put on a show.
So ridiculous.
The performances in that were really, really good. I don't. I should. I'll do my homework next time. But any number of people in that did a fantastic job.
I'm just going over the movies that I've seen this year.
Just give Holdovers an award in every category, TBH.
Did you see the Holdovers?
I love the Holdovers. Yeah. Oh no, Cameron
not yet.
Seen a movie. Cameron hasn't seen a movie
because it didn't come out into Germany until like last week.
Holdovers is great. We're
gonna go see it on Wednesday. But yeah.
Yes.
Thinking, what other movie did I really like this year? Especially ones that everyone else here has seen. Because
I'm surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm surprised Barbie did not get nominated for more nominations.
But like, in what do you nominate it in? Like, that's my thing.
Maybe like it is in production design. Never
mind. It has 8 nominations.
It does have 8 nominations.
It has 8 nominations. It's nominated. So by the way, for everyone that doesn't know how ridiculous I am, I have the nominations list sorted by movie on my desk, because I'm going to try to see as many as possible. I'm on 18 films on this list as of right now. We're going to watch 19 this week.
That's
second least amount of films nominated for the Oscars of all time this year.
Why do you think
it's
that
a
is?
variety of films?
Yeah.
People.
It's consolidated because like there's a bunch of like, I think like a bunch of this list is like more than like 5 or more. Like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 films are nominated for at least 5 nominations. And like you got to think the shorts are their own category, right? That's 10 films that you're always going to have nominated. The animated features usually are their own category, right?
Unfortunately,
as we just
right? Across could have been in Best Picture. Really, really, like this one's a lot more realistic too. In original score, my gosh, that might be my favorite original score ever.
But even the documentary stuff is like those are also another 10 nominations, right? You have Best Short Animated, Best Short Live Action, Best Documentary Feature, and Best Documentary Short. That's 20 films that are not going to dissect with anything else on usually.
Mm-hmm.
And so 38 films isn't, not a lot.
But it makes it way easier to watch it all. I'm so excited for you to know every single one of these movies and for me to go, I've seen 5.
Yeah, I mean, what else do you guys? I mean, like the creator as well. I think should have gotten
Yeah,
nominated for more
definitely, that
films.
would
be
That
on
was a
my list.
great film. By the way, available on Disney Plus here in Europe. I don't know about you guys if it's available on Hulu. I think.
I think you're right. I think it is Hulu.
Noted.
Shouldn't it be on your list?
Noted in my brain.
Yep, it is on my list because I was
Noted.
nominated. Yeah, it's on Hulu.
What are your thoughts, guys, on Napoleon?
The old short guy. Yeah.
Did you see it, Justin?
No.
Why
But-
wasn't the movie as short as the guy?
That's. I think what it get nominated for production, costume, production, visual effects. Yeah,
Costumes were great.
I-
Didn't like the overall movie.
I
That
think
much.
it's a story. It
Yeah.
was a little flat. I think here we are. Like, I gave it, I think, a 4 because like it was just, Ridley Scott is impressive with how good he's at shooting a war movie, but like you have 2 dissecting stories in there that just barely cross, and I think that takes away, makes the film a little disjointed, and that kind of hurt it for me. That's why, like, I'm surprised maybe that didn't like get a nomination for camera because I think its camera work was absolutely amazing. But like Yona Queen Phoenix did not, I think, deserve a nomination for best leading actor, especially like the amount of leading actors, right, in this category that are just like amazing. Which I think that's one of the categories that I've seen the least of so far. Funny enough. I think we have this year was a great year for leading ladies and leading men.
Yeah.
Like it's
I
just
agree with
like, and I think that's what boils down to on the like Barbie side of things is like, what do you get rid of? Like you look at these 5 women and it's like, who would you get rid of to replace her?
You can't.
You can't. And
You
I
can't.
saw Nyad, and Nyad was pretty okay, like pretty good. And I think she's the weakest on the list. But like, I don't know, did I think that her performance was worse than Margot Robbie's? I would say so. I think Anatomy of a Fall was a film that got overhyped. That's my personal opinion.
I have not seen that one yet.
See it or don't. I saw it for my second time last night because I found someone was playing it, and I thought it was good. I think Zhang Hilo, who's the leading lady, is amazing in it, which is the only reason why the movie works. Like it's 2.5 hours predicated on her, and it's its own demise. But that's kind of how I see it. But yeah, I think those are the couple. I mean, what other movies have people seen this year that were like, this is like a movie that should have been nominated?
Okay, so the big question, ready? Do we demolish the Oscars?
What would you replace it with? Or just
Me.
get rid of it in total?
My opinions.
Your opinion.
Got you.
I mean, to a more realistic conversation, I think we are at a point where so many people just like watch reviewers online that like they align in opinions with, and they're just like, yeah, this is going to be what I allow to influence me on my decision making, as opposed to the Academy. But like, yeah, I get it. They some weird decisions are made, but it is a big collective of people who do care about film. So like, I get it.
I think it's a jury of your peers, right? And I think that's what like makes it so special compared to like the Golden Globes, because there is no other this is the only like bigger like award show for film that is selected by your peers, right? The people in your
I
own
want it
department-
selected by me because I like my opinion.
like the people in your own department decide who gets nominated, and the wider like base of like all these people decides who wins. And like, you know what? I can respect that. It is
if I'm ever allowed to vote for some reason within the Academy, then my opinion will change. I'll go, this is awesome. But but until then, do I value their opinions? Oh, yeah.
I think it's on a different level from like the SAG Awards, the DGA Awards, because it brings everyone in, right?
Yeah.
It brings in
everyone in
directors.
to make sure that Best Picture only has live action films.
I think Justin, the honest truth is, I think
that one in. Yeah, go on.
I think the honest truth with that fact, and I don't even disagree with you, is like I think that's just the industry. Like animated films are not respected on the level that that live action is, and I think it's reflected in the types of nominations that exist.
Sure, absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. So, I guess we're agreed on dismantling it then. Yeah, until
Justin has enough power.
Well, until the right films get until the right films get respect. You know,
What's the plan to dismantle it?
Well, I think if I go on Twitter and type, "Hey guys, we're striking, and you should not watch the Oscars until they make me the president," I think I could get at least 6 people to do the same. They might have not been watching the Oscars already, but they'll type, "I'm with you, yo," you know. So it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. Are we all in agreement? We're all gonna not watch the Oscars this year?
You can't tell me to watch the Oscars. You're gonna watch it.
I thought I was with my besties here, and no one's aligned with me on this. We're not protesting at all.
I can tell you right now, I'm not watching it with Cameron because it's in the middle of the night for us, and I have to work. I have to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning.
You should add to the protest, right? That part of our demands is they change it so it's at an appropriate time in Germany when it first airs. As opposed
they make it a morning. They make it a morning breakfast program for you. They rename it to the Daniels, and then they're also breaking the fourth wall and replace it with something else. We're not tearing them down. We're just renovating.
We're just renovating.
And we get some people who make everything in pastel with an extra pillow here and an extra curtain there and an open living room kitchen concept. I also think we should get cooking shows into the Oscars.
No other notes. I think leaving that off with what Seb said. That's the highest note we're gonna hit.
This is about the hijinks that I expected, and I thought we'd go at least one episode without getting into those hijinks. But here we are.
Screw that. We're here to have fun.
Yeah.
Anyone could just spout film opinions. Not everyone could be awesome while they do it. You know.
Valid.
Yeah. What do you guys movie-wise, what are you guys watching next week? What's the plan?
Orion the Dark just came out on Netflix, just plopping down a DreamWorks movie just onto streaming. Pretty wild stuff.
But Boy and the Heron.
Yeah.
Boy and the Heron this week?
Boy and the Heron's great. Yeah.
I'm going to go see The Holdovers on Wednesday. I'm going to go see Perfect Days, which is the Japanese nominated film for Best International Feature, on Tuesday. And we're going to go see Dune 1 in IMAX on Saturday. On Saturday.
Yeah, next Saturday.
And we'll see. I think The Color Purple comes out this week here, and so does one other movie that I'm blanking on. What? Today? No, next week. No. Today we're watching Argyle. Forgot. We're watching Argyle today. The new spy
movie. Me know what you think of that, because I was pretty excited about that for a while.
I mean, I loved the trailer and was like, I want to watch that.
But folks,
always good.
But folks.
Does anyone have any other notes, any other questions, comments, concerns? Otherwise, we'll leave it here.
I think personally, after this lengthy discussion today, that you all three are just really smart, filmy brain people. I might be number 4.
I think you know what, the best way to end it, Justin, is that we're all number 4.
Yeah,
all clawing our way to the top of
the number 4 podcast. Let's go. I think it's a great title. We could rename the podcast Weekly, and it's not going to confuse anyone.
No one, not at all. Why would it? That would just make things easier. But anyway.
On that note, any other final notes, or do we put it?
I think that's it. We will. Yeah. hopefully so in 2 weeks, same time, I will actually be at the Berlin Film Festival doing coverage. So we're going to do a little snippet from there as well during the stream.
Cameron sitting in the cinema watching a movie being like, sorry, this is going to be a bit loud. Hi, guys.
Also,
right now I'm watching.
Also, as you see the top right-hand corner, we're powered by StreamYard because we don't have money. So if you would like to sponsor or know of a sponsor that would want to have your logo up in the corner, please let us know. We'll take that sponsor and we'll make this podcast slightly better.
We also watch your suggestions first if you pay us.
Give us donated.
Like if you donate, if you sponsor an episode, we happily watch your movie suggestions.
By the way, we have a Napoleon lover in the chat. So
can we all get a round of applause going for Jacqueline Spector?
Go France!
Go France! Yeah, but with that, I would say that's been a Capcom podcast. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks
for another episode of the Number 4 podcast. Thank you, everyone.
Make us go number 1. Please rate. Thank you.
Bye.
Please do.